We're joined by political analyst Sanet Solomon. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, we listened there to President Cyril Ramaphosa saying he wants to see Gauteng in a tip-top position as it hosts the G20 meetings. What is your reaction to his address and how firm he was about, making sure that the country has its ducks in a row?
I think that he has very high expectations in terms of having the country look quite presentable. I think it is slightly a bit delayed. It's something that we should have been working on as a country, especially if you want your brand to be something that you're proud of. But I do think that there were obviously key points that he mentioned in his discussion, which a lot of South Africans are already familiar with. And it's definitely things that we hoped that the ruling ANC would have dealt with when they were the governing party, and it's definitely something that we're hoping that they would be able to resolve now that we have the GNU in place.
Yeah, the president mentioned that if Gauteng fails, South Africa cannot succeed, as he also, we heard Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi's approach again to solve the province's 13th province, mentioning water, load shedding, crime, corruption and all sorts. Is there a sense of confidence that, these plans look good on paper, but is there confidence that they can indeed be resolved?
I don't think that these are problems that arose overnight, and definitely it's been things that they've been aware of for quite some time. For example, the water crisis, in terms of if you take Pretoria, Hartmanskraal, that has been a problem for a number of years. If you look at the number of potholes that you find in Johannesburg, if we look at the number of informal settlements, I mean, just opposite Sandton, you have like new informal settlements, etc. So I think that all of these have been in place for quite some time. It's definitely things that they should have been working on for a number of years. And I think that while they may be confident in terms of their rhetoric, it is really something new. And I think that South Africans and I think the rest of the world would need to see action in order for them to believe that these would actually be achievable.
Yeah, because we also heard the president even going as far as telling the leaders in Gauteng that human rights should be respected through the delivery of basic services. I mean, what does that reflect about the leadership's understanding of roles if the president has to go as far as saying, it's a human rights issue?
I do think that obviously not having basic things such as running water, having other structures in place that you would think are basic, like basic services, I think that that's something that they should have been dealing with for quite some time. But I also think that there is a sense of shift or blaming in terms of the national government not necessarily taking responsibility for this, and then just obviously placing everything in terms of Gauteng. We do know that Gauteng is one of the biggest metros in terms of the country. We also know that it has quite a bit that it needs to do in order for the country to succeed, given how big its revenue collection normally is, given that most of these companies and private entities find themselves there, etc. But I do think in terms of just the basic rendering of services, I think that this is unfortunately a crisis that extends beyond Gauteng. And I think it is a crisis that extends beyond Johannesburg, but I definitely think that it is something that does need to be prioritized to ensure that South Africans live in a dignified manner.
Do you think that as much as the president was rather firm and really not beating about the bush as he spoke about all of these issues, could there be an opportunity to perhaps announce measures to intervene? Because it's rather evident that a lot is not going so well in the province.
I do think that actionable like goal points would have been great. I do think that it would have been great if they would say that these would be the steps that we would be taking. These are the measures that we would be using to ensure that we are successful, or to ensure that we are making progress in terms of achieving these goals. A lot of these goals have been said before. They were just named different things. I mean, like now, like in the year of the G20, now you're referring to these goals as the G13. I think it's a bit of like a play on words, but I definitely think that actionable steps need to be set, and I don't think that that's something that came through in terms of that speech.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thanks for weighing in on the conversation there as we wrap it there, getting a sense of some reaction to President Cyril Ramaphosa saying that he wants to see Gauteng in tip top position as it hosts its G20 meetings. Political analyst Sanet Solomon there giving us a sense of perspective.